bro. Don't forget, it ain't the first 48, bro. It's 60 minutes, bro.
Mark Andrews, he's got it. Touchdown, Baltimore.
Shout out Zone 32.
You come at the King, you best not miss.
You're now locked into Zone 32.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode, specifically episode 74 of the Zone 32 podcast. The crew is in full force tonight. My name is Jake. His name is Drew. His name is Will. Introducing a man who lost his job yesterday because the Ravens cut him due to injury designation.
Waived with injury
him.
Designation.
They waived him with an injury designation. Nonetheless, you lost your job. You lost your job yesterday. His name
no
is
settlement.
Grant.
No injury settlement.
No.
None.
Fucking
Say what's up to the
unemployed
people.
fuck.
You haven't been here in a month, so speak to them. I ain't gonna tell you shut the fuck up.
I trust you. I'm trust you right now. I'm trust you right now.
I'm
No,
just saying.
it's been a lot going on. It's good to be back with my guys. Talk some Ravens football. I do have an injury. So surgery tomorrow on the old knee. Old man isn't built like he used to be. It's just been a long month with camps and things. So it's good to be back. Appreciate my guys for holding it down with me gone. Now shut the fuck up.
Oh, so I mean, typically most people start their NFL careers, like 22, maybe 21, 20 in a few cases. But Grant decided to wait until he was 47 to start. Tom Brady retired, so Grant could join the NFL.
Where does this 47 shit come from? Are we adding decades on, or like what?
Yeah.
He's trying to make you the oldest player in NFL
age.
history.
I've never said the correct age for you or Will.
Like
he intentionally wants to make you
was
that.
even like 40.
Yeah, Tom Brady was
Brady was
46.
younger than that.
Tom Brady was 46
Brady was
and
something like
47.
That. Yeah. George Blanda before him was 43, and he was part-time kicking and part-time quarterbacking for the Raiders. So, hey, Mr. Grant could have been the oldest player in NFL history, but that's not the case. Let's jump into it. The 53-man roster has been released, and suffice it to say, a man that a few people have been clamoring for his job to be taken away has come to fruition. Mr. Prochet is no longer a member of the Baltimore Ravens. Among others, like Caillou Kelly was released and other players. But nonetheless, I'll let the boys dive in. Drew, give me your reaction. Give me your thoughts on the 53 and the overreactions from people on the internet about the 53.
So I had posted on Wednesday night, I don't know, whatever fucking day, the night before roster cutdowns happened. I had posted my prediction, and I was 49 of 53. I got Christian Welch wrong, Mustipher over. I had Mustipher on the roster over Cleveland. They cut Mustipher. I was wrong somewhere. Oh, and then Caillou Kelly, and I don't know, it was one other guy that was sprung on. It doesn't really fucking matter. It was pretty much exactly what I expected. I thought Duvernay was going to be gone too. I thought they were going to keep Treadwell on the active 53 to start, and that Duvernay was going to get traded. But I guess there's still a possibility that happens, especially since Treadwell said he's going to sign to the practice squad. So he's around. So if that's the route that they want to go, then they can take that. There really weren't any other shocks to me there, though. People were talking about Ricard getting cut. People were talking about, who knows who getting cut at this point. But it really, Keaton Mitchell was there. That was pretty clear from the first preseason game that he was going to make 53-man roster. It's good to see Malik Ham make the roster. I think that he's, he looked good in the preseason, and we could potentially use the edge help. So that's definitely good to keep him around. And, really where our fans' brains got broken was the cutting Caillou Kelly. Will had mentioned before we started recording, I didn't see Harbaugh talk about it, but he said that, what did he say, Will? Something about wanting to keep veterans around? Because he said
basically due to the situation with the cornerbacks right now, that there just wasn't space for a developmental cornerback. They needed to have more veterans with experience that they can rotate. So, Caillou Kelly, I think, has a future in the league, but there's
he
people.
Sucks right now.
I don't even want to say he sucks right now. It's just like he is so raw that he has no utility for an NFL roster that is going to lean heavily on its cornerback depth. And the people who are reacting like, it's a wasted pick. No, it's not a wasted pick, because if you expect every day 3 pick to make the fucking roster, you are brain dead. We have been conditioned to believe that every guy we draft every single year is going to make the team, which is fucking stupid. We've just been, spoiled by how good the Ravens have drafted historically. And
So I
people,
actually,
well, and people
go ahead.
like to shit on EDC's drafts, but they also then the same people ignore the fact that we have undrafted free agents make the team every year, and that dates back before him. But that is a staple of the Ravens roster to have undrafted free agents. We have two that made the team this year, so to lose one draft pick, to cut one draft pick, but to gain two undrafted free agents, that more than offsets. And those are the same. Like an undrafted free agent making the 53 is just as good, if not better, than a round 5, round 6, round 7 pick, because the same amount of scouting goes into it, and you're expending less money. You're not investing 4 years into the player. So, and it's a player that you can likely, if they end up, you can kind of probably bounce them back and forth between the practice squad. So it's just like it does give you flexibility. So the people who want to shit on cutting a 5th round pick and then at the same time be excited about Keaton Mitchell and Malik Ham, they don't understand what they're talking about. They don't understand roster construction. They don't understand scouting. They don't understand any of it, because you're talking out of both sides of your mouth at that point. That's really fucking driving me crazy right now.
Yeah.
So where I just go ahead,
I was just gonna say, I was big on the Kyle Blue Kelly train, even pre-draft process. I even understand, and it's not the saying like it's not saying that he just wasn't ready, and that's fine because we're in a win now mode. Baltimore's in a win now mode. The injury thing to Marlon Humphrey, hopefully he's back game 1. If he's not, then it is what it is. We just got to deal with it and go from there. But there's limited corners out there. You would have to make a big time trade, which what's the capital on that? Who's available? All that stuff. You need to get the veterans that you need on the roster before you can have a developmental guy on the roster. I mean, it is a numbers game. You have 53 guys, multiple positions, depth, injury concerns, things like that. I understand. If he cleared waivers, he was coming back.
Oh, for
I
sure.
believe that
100%.
thoroughly on the practice
100%.
squad.
They wouldn't, right. A guy they draft like that and then cut, their
Yeah.
fingers are crossed. They're hoping so much that they can get him back on the practice squad, because they wouldn't have drafted him if they didn't want him in the
Right.
building. But again, it's like the 53 is a whole different animal. And even guys who make the 53, who made it yesterday and who are on it today, may not be on it week 1. There's still a lot of
Right.
of moving parts to get our week 1 roster set. And like you were saying, as far as like trades or whatever, that quarterback room is still not set. Like we easily could add another one. We could make a trade at some point. There's a lot of moving parts there.
And people don't understand that the whole 53 construction now is completely different than it was even 5 years ago. Like
even 2 years ago, because the practice squad rules have changed so much.
Changed, and you also have these as Drew predicted in his 53, but you have these handshake deals. So you don't hit on the 53 exactly, but then you pick that person, but they still are going to be coming back and be on the active roster at some point. So it's a crapshoot, and it is a development key, but it's also a what do you need right now key. I like Drew I was 49 of 53 too, but I missed on I had Treadwell making the active roster. I had Blackson making the active roster. I had Blue Kelly making the active roster. And then I had Urban making the active roster, and 3 of those 4 would have potentially been practice squad guys.
And Urban and Johnson are already back on the active roster.
Yeah. Okay. Urban was back. I didn't know if he officially came back.
Yeah. So I had put that in my prediction too, that we were going to, once we put somebody on IR, he was going to be one of the first guys.
Yeah.
We had 2 people. It was him and somebody else.
Yeah. Yeah.
I had him and fucking Bears guy, Bears corner.
Oh yeah. Mustafa. Yeah.
No, the cornerback. DHC.
Houston Carson.
Houston Carson.
Oh
yeah. Houston Carson. Yeah.
But then my logic on that was that we needed veteran corner depth, so it was the same reason we cut Caillou. I just didn't think they would go that route. But
they still aren't they talking about even still bringing Seymour back?
Seymour is back. Seymour is back on the active roster.
He's back too. All right.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the third one. And then so with the practice squad rules changing too, like that people don't grasp. A couple of years ago, you couldn't put vested veterans on your practice squad. So that was a COVID development where you could bring in. That's how we ended up with Des Bryant on our practice squad. So now they've just made that permanent. So we have Melvin Gordon on our practice squad. We have Laquan Treadwell on the practice squad. We have guys in the practice squad with significant NFL experience who can slide right in. Now, not saying that these guys are like stars or anything, that we have this like surplus of playmakers, but it's nice to know we have a guy like Laquan Treadwell who's played a lot of NFL games, scored touchdowns, who brings a certain skill set that we all liked, that we thought maybe would make the roster at the back end of the wide receiver depth chart, who, if we have injuries, we have a guy just waiting there to come up. We don't have to go sign somebody off the street. We don't have to rely on an undrafted free agent rookie that has no experience, that may not ever, translate over to the NFL. So I don't know.
Melvin Gordon too. Melvin Gordon had offers from different,
Right.
other teams after he was cut, and he comes back and he's like, no, I want to be on the Ravens practice squad. So that tells me immediately that Keaton Mitchell's probably going to go in the 4-week pup,
Yep.
and Melvin Gordon's going to come in and he's going to be on the 53 and then just kind of work it from there. But he wouldn't come sign with the Ravens on the practice squad if there wasn't a potential for him to be active.
Well, he's also
Melvin
seen
Gordon is known to fumble good opportunities, so I don't know about that.
Well, but he's
Oh, I see
also
what you
watched.
did there.
He's watched for the
I had to do it.
the past 2 years though. He's seen several veteran NFL running backs who have basically run out of opportunities, come to the Ravens and look pretty decent. So then they end up getting another opportunity, whether it be next season on another team, or they get cut late season, they end up on another team. And that last year we had, who was the guy that we drafted last year?
Tyler Beatty.
Williams.
Tyler Beatty, who went to Denver and had a 100-yard rushing game. And then we had
got cut too.
Yeah. So these guys end up on a roster week 16, 17, 18, and they get like a featured role for a week. And then, it's just like it extends their career. So I think he sees this as an opportunity for him where he's thinking, I'm probably going to end up getting a game or two where I get, decent amount of carries and I get some tape.
Well, and he also too seems like he's at the point in his career where he's appreciative, and I respect that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah, he's, as Drew said, fumbled some opportunities away, but like he's appreciative now. He's being a vet. He's a good guy for that room, especially when you're dealing with the antics of J.K. Dobbins right now, and the whininess and the
needs some veteran leadership
type shit. You need somebody in that locker room and in that running back room that's going to be a vested vet, that's going to be a good example for the young guys and buy into what's going on right now. If he's going to continue to sit out, you need somebody like that around. And I got to give Melvin Gordon his kudos because he is being a consummate pro right now, and I appreciate that out of him.
Yeah,
I mean, he got a ring on a practice squad last year, so I feel like he also knows that it's a good way to get another NFL ring on his resume there.
And the Super Bowl bonus is nice too if you're looking for extra money.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah, I think the only thing that is odd to me is it's been this shift this year with the Ravens of, we never went and paid for wide receivers. We went and got Odell. We took Zay Flowers in the first round. Never really used void years before. They put void years on a bunch of contracts they signed this offseason. And now you have, cutting a 5th round pick, which is something the Ravens never would have done before. And they always kind of would have, bit the bullet and kept the developmental guy on the roster, maybe to the detriment of the team. I mean, they did it with Jalen Armour Davis last year. James Prochet. But, I mean, we lost the game against Miami last year because you kept Jalen Armour Davis on the 53-man roster. He had no business being an NFL cornerback last year. He was a developmental guy that you need to put on your practice squad. But we kept him, didn't try to pass him through waivers, and then he blew that game against Miami. So, I mean, that's
why they took the steps they did with Kelly.
Right. That's what I'm saying is that, like, this has been a nice change of pace for pretty much everything the Ravens have done this year. Like, they almost hit, like, the hard reset button, paid everybody, made the right, took the 53 best guys on the roster. And, I'm surprised, like, Malay, whatever the fuck his name is, the slot corner from Pittsburgh is the guy that they picked. Like, there are a couple. I don't know why you picked Ben Cleveland over Mustafa. I don't think that Ben Cleveland's very good.
I think it's because he showed now he went the Patrick McCarry route, and now he can slot in an emergency at 3 different offensive line positions. And
he played right tackle and
he looked pretty decent.
Yeah, but again, like, grocery bagger's 3rd preseason game. I don't know.
All I'm saying is,
I feel like you handcuff McCarry by having him your sole backup center, because I feel like if Linderbaum goes down, you then lose a swing tackle. So then Falele is your only backup tackle. Like, I feel like it just fucks with your offensive line to kind of have McCarry tied to that backup center spot. But
I think basically if the cornerback, so if Marlon wasn't hurt, then we would have kept 10 offensive linemen.
Yes, I agree.
So Mustafa would have had a spot.
Also a possibility.
So, I think they like Mullet a lot, and what he from what I remembered periodically seeing him with the Steelers, his skill set as like a slot corner or nickel is very, and as a veteran, it's a very good fit for what McDonald likes to do in that position.
Yeah, he's very bad at anything behind him, and he's great at any play in front of him.
Well,
so
and
he's
you know what? You know what
more of
helps
a
that?
nickel safety kind of guy.
Well, yeah, Kyle Hamilton gives him a lot of help there. So now we're not burning Kyle Hamilton on being a slot corner when we can use him as a real weapon on the defense. So
if you let Kyle Hamilton play free, he's going to go like not free safety, but let him play free in the defense.
Yeah,
he's going to go nuclear this year.
Yep. Yeah.
I really have no other. It's weird. Like I have no other complaints, and then you read Twitter, and it's our fans saying, EDC can't draft this, EDC can't do that. Like
we can't develop corners, blah blah blah. Yeah.
So I looked at this because I saw somebody who I actually, usually has relatively intelligent opinions say that like EDC and Ozzy are the reverse of each other. If EDC can draft wide receivers and can't draft corners, and Ozzy could draft and develop corners and, couldn't draft wide receivers. And so I went and looked. EDC's had, I think it was 43 draft picks since 2019 that he's taken over. 17 of those picks have been top 100 picks. He's used 0 of them on cornerbacks. And so the problem is that he takes guys who are, typically like medical red flags or something like that makes them drop farther down in the draft. So Kyu Blu Kelly's a good one. Like he was hurt a bunch. I don't think he played the COVID year. So he was really unexperienced coming out. Like he really could have used another year in college, probably.
I think he tore his ACL.
Yeah, I think he tore his ACL. I think he got hurt. I think he missed the COVID year, and then I think he got hurt the next year after that. So like he's not really experienced enough. But regardless, that's a guy that EDC looks at as like a high ceiling guy. So he takes him in the 5th round, and then in the past we've like relied on those guys to play legitimate depth positions, and it doesn't work out.
Yeah.
But that's not being bad at drafting corner. That's not spending premium draft capital on a cornerback.
Right.
So I feel like even our fans, he's taking value. Again, it's a 5th round pick. You want to take the high ceiling guy. You're not trying to take a 5th round pick and be like, yeah, this is my day one starter. That's a guy that you're looking at in 2 years that maybe you're going to get 2 cheap years of starting out of him if everything goes perfectly according to plan. So I feel like even our fans like bitching about stuff just makes no sense and has no logic behind it at this point.
And you look at that too, like you said, like we got spoiled, like Will said, we got spoiled with keeping, all of our draft picks. But when you pick a 5th round guy like Kyu Blu Kelly, you look at what he could be, and what he could be is, the injuries were there, but then you look at the games that he highlighted against top tier receivers. Like everybody talked about him versus Drake London when Drake London was at USC, and he completely shut him down. Like you see what he can do against top end talent. And
who was the fucking guy that we took? Who was the guy that we took a couple years ago from Ohio State, the corner that everybody was fucking drooling over?
Shaun Wade.
It's the same thing as him. Yeah, Shaun Wade had, good college tape when he was next to Marshawn Lattimore.
For like a pack of saltine crackers or something?
No, we took him in the 5th round. I think we traded him for like a conditional 5th round pick that ended up being like a 6th or something like that. So basically just punted on it because he wasn't going to make our roster, and he has not played an NFL snap as far as I'm aware. So, but
he at one point was a projected 1st round pick the year before, like he went out, like
because he was next to the kid the Lions just
traded. It was Okudah, right?
Yeah, it was Okudah. So he played next to Okudah and was fucking looked locked down that year. And then Okudah left and he was fucking burnt toast. And everybody's like, okay, this is why he's a 5th round pick. But again, high ceiling, showed that he could play at a high level. Took him in the 5th round, wasn't going to make the roster because he wasn't ready or he wasn't good. And we moved on from him. Like that's the right way. Yeah. How many 5th round picks are like legitimate starters in the NFL right now?
Very
can't
few.
Be many.
Very few.
It can't be
very
many.
Few.
Your roster, your starters are mostly made up of, top 3 round picks, top 100 guys.
Well, there's a breakdown somewhere. I don't remember where I saw it, but it was something along the lines of like from 5th round on, like 5th round to 7th round, it was like a 3 to 7% chance or something of making a 53 roster or something crazy. Like it was really low.
Yeah, because you have almost no guaranteed money at that point. You're basically making the same money as like some scrap heap guy. So if you suck, they're just going to kick you off. You know what I mean? Like there's no point in keeping somebody around who's not going to, do something for you. So it's really just our fans, again, that make no sense to me with the criticism. You can criticize EDC for a lot of things. I think you can criticize EDC for looking at these high ceiling guys, again, like Kyu Blu Kelly, thinking that, he could bring value in 2023. And thinking that that is the first time you should have taken a stab at a cornerback.
That's okay.
You
So
know what
that's
I
what,
mean?
yeah, the people who are complaining are outing themselves as low football IQ people because
Right.
they think that every single player we draft is like, oh, sweet, now we have another cornerback who's going to be a star. Like,
Mhm.
I mean, even a first rounder like Zay Flowers, temper your expectations. I think he's going to be a star. I think he could easily break out, but at the same time, they're not going to just like, make him the featured wide receiver.
I
On
fully
week
disagree.
one.
I fully disagree with that statement.
He's gonna
And
get
it's
10 targets first game.
I don't. I see.
so
I would not be surprised if Zay Flowers had the third or fourth most targets on the team behind Odell, Andrews, and Bateman. But I also wouldn't be surprised if he had the most. I'm just saying, like, if you go into it thinking, all right, we drafted Zay Flowers in the first round, so now he's wide receiver 1, then you don't understand the game at all.
yeah, so I mean, I think Zay Flowers is going to be wide receiver 1 because of what he does on the field, not because he was a first round pick. But
By
that's
the
a
end of the
totally
season, he
different argument.
may, but I'm just saying, like, if you see just because we draft the guy, just like Bateman got drafted. The second we drafted him, if you assumed he was going to be a 1,200-yard receiver with 10 touchdowns, then you just don't understand how the NFL works. Especially
And
the
honestly-
Ravens. The Ravens don't throw rookies out there. Like
So-
Lamar Jackson got drafted, and we didn't see him start a game till week 11.
Yeah.
Marquise Brown and
that was due to injury.
fucking
Right.
Miles Boykin started their first games though, so I mean there is circumstances where guys
but
play right away.
Yeah. But okay, but Marquise. Okay, let's also be serious. Marquise Brown started that first game at wide receiver 1 because of the fact that who else was on the team? Nobody. And
And I would argue that he's the reason. Marquise Brown is the reason why we didn't draft a high corner this year.
Okay, so no, hold on. And I want to counter that. So I think the reason we didn't go heavy on corner this year, and I think it's a personnel thing, and I think it's a roster construction thing of what you surround your defense with and what type of defense you're running and who's coordinating it. The fact that we got Roquan Smith for our second round pick essentially changes the dynamic of what you do for your defense. Are you feasible enough that you can keep Marlon Humphrey, grab a Rock Ya-Sin, have the safeties that you have, and can facilitate a defense without overspending on a corner because wide receiver is a more pressing need. So I understand what EDC did this year, and I give him his flowers. I'm proud of him. I think he did a great job. I'm on board. But I think that if you don't make that move for Roquan and you have Patrick Queen in that spot right now, and then you have, whether it's, Josh Ross or Delshon Phillips or whoever, you have that there. I think a move for a corner would have been made early in the draft or via trade, a big trade.
Remember they
But
did try.
Roquan
They tried to sign Darius Slay or trade for Darius Slay too.
They tried to trade for Xavier Howard at last year's deadline. I mean,
yeah. And what was the deal with? So Ravens defense before Roquan was what 23rd or something overall, and then after him was what 2nd or 3rd. So like
also,
what he does,
I love Roquan. That's also not totally fair to Tyus Bowser because Tyus Bowser came back at the same time, and he made a huge impact on that defense too. So you're giving all the credit to Roquan, which is fine. He deserves a lot of the credit, but it was also Tyus Bowser coming back, not having Owe drop into coverage because he sucks.
Tyus Bowser isn't facilitating the defense though.
But he is putting Odafe Owe back in his correct position so that he's not playing coverage underneath, which is what he was doing a lot of before. He was playing a lot of that stem
and runs a 4-3. He better be able to cover.
He sucks. Have you watched him try to cover?
Everything.
Yeah, but I'm saying like I would trust you more in coverage than Owe.
Hey,
and that's what he was doing early here.
Your boy over here had 90 tackles, 6 sacks, and 2 picks with a torn meniscus. So I'm telling you, the Ravens made a mistake.
All right, peg leg.
Grant's not telling you that he was playing in the wheelchair league, but just knocking over people on fucking wheelchairs. So
whatever. I'm the old man. They're all 20 to 28. I'm fucking grandpa over there lighting them up.
They probably feel bad for you. They're like, oh, we gotta let this old man relive his glory days.
It's like when Brett Favre let Michael Strahan get the sack record.
They're like,
speaking of
this is
Brett Favre. I was talking at practice the other day with the college dudes, and I was like, yeah, Brett Favre's the founder of Crocs, right? And they were like, nuh-uh. And I was like, because he was taking pictures in them before they were popular, and they didn't get it. And I'm like, man, y'all are fucking young. Like
Crocs and Copperfits. It's Brett Favre special.
But rostered. Yeah, I mean,
blaming
EDC
Hollywood
done
Brown
an
for where we
absolute
are.
masterclass. Do I think we're done at the corner position? Absolutely not. I think
me neither.
if it's not before the deadline, there will be a deadline deal for some corner, like a bigger.
So it's either going to be a corner, it's going to be a corner or a pass rusher. But the reason why we have to make a deadline deal for a corner or a pass rusher is because of 2 picks made in 2019. We'll hit on one of them. I'm not going to touch the other one because it's just not a situation worth discussing. But Marquise Brown not working out as wide receiver 1 in 2019 is why you had to use a first-round pick on Rashad Bateman, is why you had to go spend money on Odell, and is why you use a first-round pick on Zay Flowers this year. If you hit on that Marquise Brown pick and you took A.J. Brown there, I feel like our cornerback room is completely different. I feel like you no longer have to rely on a Rock Ya-Sin. I feel like you're trading up to go get like a Devin Witherspoon this year. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like that's the move. Is we had a legitimate need at wide receiver, and that was
we would have done it. Or we would have done it last year when Marcus Peters wasn't right yet, and go get like
we didn't have the draft capital to play with because we had legitimate needs created by whiffing on the Marquise Brown pick.
Well,
and it's the same thing with Edger.
You'll get lots of
more than that.
You'll get a lot of fans saying, "Oh, we didn't whiff. He was good. Blah 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 blah. He had 1,000 yards. Look at him now.
He sucked ass. He's fucking awful. I'm so sick and tired of this nonsense.
He's like a top.
We force fed on the ball, and he's dog shit.
He's okay. If you want to rank him in the NFL, in
48th.
He's like between number 30 and 40 in the top.
I'll give him top 50. I'll give him top 50.
He's probably somewhere in the 30 to 40 range. It's like that.
But
that's
really also the thing to him is if we had a legit threat, like let's say that we had Odell on the roster and Mark Andrews, and we go to draft Marquise Brown, and he can be a number 2, he's fine. But
he's not a top.
Well, I just think, you can draft.
He can't be a top 32 wide receiver.
You could draft Jalen. You could draft Jalen Hyatt to do what Marquise Brown does, and what did Jalen Hyatt got drafted like in the early second round, right?
He's
third round.
So right.
Their game is so identical. Like people try to say, "Oh, Zay Flowers, the Ravens are expecting him to be like the Marquise Brown they wanted to be." No, those are two completely different players.
No.
The way they run their routes, the way they play the game. But Jalen Hyatt and Marquise Brown are clones. Like they play the exact same.
What people are saying is that Zay Flowers is who people wanted Marquise Brown to be. So this is a slight. This is a slight on Marquise Brown that he did not live up to expectations, that he was not the guy he was supposed to be.
I think Zay Flowers is better than that. I think it's better than what we.
I said it last week. He's Antonio Brown, and I know that that's like a big lofty comparison, and I hope that he doesn't start, flashing his dick in public and beating up fucking moving drivers. But
you're not wrong, and we said that from the beginning. We said I don't like comparing players to like proven, Hall of Fame caliber people, but the way that he plays the position is like identical to the way Antonio Brown does.
Well, a lot of people were like, Marquise Brown is going to be our Tyreek Hill. No, Zay Flowers can be our Tyreek Hill though.
Right.
I would say more Antonio Brown because he's more physical.
I'm just saying if you want to, I mean, I think he is kind of physical, but he's. I agree with you. I'm just saying if you want to compare him to somebody in the league now, if you want to say, all right, we want to do what Kansas City was doing with him, that is something Zay Flowers can do, but that's not something that Marquise Brown can do. Period. Can't do it.
Marquise Brown is afraid to get hit.
Yeah.
Zay Flowers is afraid to not get 5 extra yards after he catches the ball.
Right.
They're both
Marquise
different.
Brown would catch and fall as soon as he thought somebody was within 3 yards of him in a rate.
And a lot of times he'd fall before he caught it.
Yeah, but scared of contact. It's just this is the dumb shit that we go back and forth with our fans all the time. Is that okay? So the Nick Bosa shit is a good example too.
I was ask you about that too. Like, what you thought?
First of all, it was somebody with the Reddit user named Josh_Rosen. And so I posted, Nick Bosa, you're a Baltimore Raven. I got people like, is that the real Josh Rosen? I'm like, yeah, it's real Josh Rosen just going on fucking Reddit to talk about this. Like, shut the fuck up.
What if it really was, though?
That would be so funny.
It would be kind of funny because I'm here like fucking roasting people, being like, how fucking stupid are you, believing this? But regardless, so what the guy wrote checks out. Apparently it's the same guy who broke the McCaffrey trade beforehand. And the way that he lays out the situation is very similar to how the 49ers handled DeForest Buckner a couple of years ago. That they kind of gave him like a hard line in the sand number before the season. He basically told them to go fuck themselves, and then they traded to Indy and pulled in all those draft picks. So like the logic checks out. So I'm not going to say that there's no shot of this happening, but whatever. 90% of the replies to me were the cap doesn't work. If you can get Nick Bosa in Baltimore, I assure you that Steve Biscotti will, pay any cash under the table or cash out of pocket that he's got to pay to make that work. And you can always make the cap work on an extension.
Well, and let's just be clear. It didn't say that the Ravens were the team. It said an AFC team, and that could be, I think, one of.
What conference did the Ravens play in? Well,
it didn't say AFC North. It said AFC.
Yeah, no, but what conference did they play in?
I'm just saying, I think it could be one of 4 teams. It's us, Kansas City because of the Chris Jones situation, the Bills, or the Dolphins. That's it.
I had idiot Raven fans replying to me too, saying that the Browns and the Bengals have a better shot of going to get Bosa than we do. And number one, so the Browns, they point out the Browns have, I think the Browns have $36 million in cap space this year. They have to roll over that $36 million in cap space this year so that they can cover Deshaun Watson next year. There's going to be a year or two that Deshaun Watson is not playing in Cleveland anymore, and they're going to have a $30 million cap hit for him because of how badly they fucked up that contract.
I mean, the Atlanta had $40 million on their dead cap last year from Matt Ryan.
I get irritated too with like the people that are like, yes, there's a salary cap. We get that. We've had this conversation 100 times before, but I can't stand the people that are like, oh, we can't afford that guy. There's a salary cap. Dude, there is so many loopholes to afford somebody if you want to afford them. If you get a Nick Bosa, you make it happen. You run in shit. You'd restructure in 2 years.
Look what the Rams did to win that Super Bowl. Look what they did. They signed everybody.
Matters. And that's why we always say the salary cap is a myth. Like people take it literal. Obviously, there's a salary cap. It says NFL salary cap. It's part of the rules. So I guess it's not fake, but it's a myth in the sense of you can maneuver it if you want to. And I get so fucking annoyed when people can't separate the two things.
So the salary cap is real. The salary cap exists. If you want to circumvent the salary cap and you have an owner who is willing to pay, essentially extra cash on top of what the cap number is, so that if they budget, the salary cap for the team's payroll that year, like the salary cap max number, and you're going to pay some guy more cash, cash over cap, I think is the term they use, whatever the fuck it is, doesn't really matter.
Cash over cap.
But if you have an owner who's willing to do that, and you have a player who is willing to say, I don't give a fuck how you structure this on paper, just give me my goddamn money, then you're in business. And so, again, this moron said the Browns to me, which is just laughable. It just shows that he has no fucking idea what's going on in Cleveland. They're going to end up losing Myles Garrett because they're not going to be able to afford him because, they won't pay him what he's worth, and they're going to be so fucking bogged down in Deshaun Watson money and Amari Cooper and all these other stupid fucking signings that they keep making. And then the other team that he floated out there was the fucking Bengals. The reason why the Bengals, the Bengals have the cap space to afford Nick Bosa, they won't even pay Joe Burrow or T. Higgins or Jamar Chase. Why? Their owner's broke. He's not going to pay fucking Nick Bosa. It's just not going to happen. So, but this is the caliber of idiots that exists on Ravens Twitter, is that we get people who I swear to God, they read I don't even know who starts some of these, narratives or takes or whatever, or agendas, whatever fucking word you want to use to describe them. Fuck you, gamer god, ruining another career. For the record, I just need to say that publicly on the podcast. Whoever starts this shit, it's like playing telephone, like when you were in kindergarten, and somebody makes a somewhat valid point of, hey, if you want to bring in Nick Bosa, the money's going to be tight, and you got to get him to help you out, in the contract structure. Or Steve Biscott's got to be willing to go above and beyond, and basically put it on his credit card to win a championship. Okay, that's a fair take. I'm okay with that. And then by the 8th person who regurgitates that take, it gets so fucking blown out of whack that it's Ravens can't afford this. You're fucking stupid for suggesting it. Kill yourself. Those are basically the responses I get from these, fucking anonymous accounts with 75 followers. It's always the same 3 people that follow them. They tweet dumb shit into the void all day. And then, every once in a while they catch me off guard. And I'm like, all right, well, I got to fucking tell you you're stupid. And then oh, you just talk down to smaller accounts. No, I just talk down to stupid people. That's really what it boils down to.
So here's my thing too, is if EDC pulls off Nick Bosa, I'll bake him cookie and I'll build him a statue myself.
We could probably arrange that, for being honest, to get you to bake cookies for him.
I will wear an apron that says "I heart EDC" and I will bake him cookies if he pulls off Nick Bosa.
If we get Nick Bosa and David Ajabo gets a sack game 1, then I need you to wear a David Ajabo jersey, an apron, and just make cookies for Ajabo and EDC.
I'll do that.
Best thing about that too is because the Electric Daisy Carnival exists, you can find iHeart EDC shirts very easily. They just won't be at the cost of the other thing.
Was that English or was that another language?
That was radio speak.
Okay. Did anybody else understand
radio.
that?
Jake is the the Blackhawk
I heard
helicopter
EDC
pilot again today.
In the electronic dance circle.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's how you're able to find the iHeart EDC shit fairly easily.
Fair. All right. So we'll buy Grant some of that shit because
we got to go on Etsy.
I feel like at the deadline, like there's going to be a move made. Assuming we have needs, assuming that like Rocky Sin isn't all of a sudden this all pro guy and, David Ajabo and Owe aren't, like dueling for defensive player of the year by week 6. I feel like we're probably going to have to go get somebody at the deadline. That's logic. That's, just you're always going to have needs. And so I wonder if it's going to be a corner or a pass rusher. I think it's more realistic to expect a pass rusher too, because I think that there are a bunch of guys out there that are on expiring contracts that you can probably rent for pretty cheap this year. I don't know if a corner like that exists.
Yeah, well, and the idiotic panic about the cornerbacks will go away as soon as Marlon's back, which by all accounts is not going to be a lengthy absence. So, and I think a pass rusher helps. Like we've said for the past month, the pass rusher helps. So, I mean, we have capable cornerbacks. We don't have a second guy who's, a top of the league cornerback. Most teams don't have 2 of them. But if you have a pass rush that's, up the quarterback's asshole every time they snap the fucking ball, and we have Marlon Humphrey on one side and we have a bunch of capable corners, maybe they're not top of the league, but they're capable, then those guys are going to thrive with a good pass rush.
Yeah, and my cornerback concern is that, we have Ronald Darby coming off an ACL. We have Marlon banged up right now. We had Rocky Sin had a knee in training camp. Jalen Armour Davis was banged up. Brandon Stevens is a running back and is great at coverage and has absolutely 0 ball skills. So I feel like, we're just lacking warm bodies in the cornerback room. I'm not looking to go get a Jair Alexander tomorrow. I'm looking for somebody with some NFL experience to be on our practice squad. And with pass rusher, I'm looking for like a legitimate difference maker, a Chase Young, a Nick Bosa caliber guy. I'd take Joey Bosa too. I'd take any of the Bosas.
Yeah, I don't think he's available, but
they just paid Justin Herbert, and they're not going to win anything, so they might as well just get rid of Joey Bosa to save some money. Maybe get Justin Herbert something that he doesn't blow 4 touchdown leads in the playoffs. That would be helpful. I don't know. This has been like this is still just such a weird offseason that I have like nothing to complain about. I'm kind of lost. Yeah. And like we don't have any because what always bothered me before is that we had a very negative fan base, but there were actually things to be negative about. And there was always something to say like, we have this one fatal flaw, whether it was Greg Roman or no wide receivers or, Steve Saunders, a fucking COVID spreading terrorist, like whatever the problem was, like there was something that existed and that's just not there this year. And it's weird. I don't really know how to act in this situation without like a legitimate thing to gripe about.
I've been very critical too. And I wouldn't say that I've been a negative Ravens fan. I would say that I have no problem speaking what I don't feel okay about. I'm not just going to suck nuts just to, you know what I mean? And like at the same time, like, I'm going to call bullshit. And I'm happy. Like I'm happy as shit. Like I look at the 53-man roster and what they do. And like I said, I was a Caillou Blue Kelly guy and I was beating the drum for him. I was beating the drum for him 3rd, 4th round. But like at the same time, I'm okay with what we did and what the roster looks like right now and the pieces that we have sitting back waiting to come in, because Eric DaCosta did what I've been wanting him to do for, the past year and a half, 2 years, is he went and did what he needed to do to bring a team. Like, there's enough wasted years of Lamar. Like the injury.
We have a championship. We have a non-surprising championship caliber roster this year. I would say 2019, how good we were was kind of a surprise. Like I don't think we went into 2019.
No, we were only that good in 2019 because Lamar was incredible and the league didn't know how to defend him at the time. Which now there's film, things like that. Which he's still a fucking unbelievable superstar. He's an MVP guy. But like in 2019, he was a year in the league. He had 7-8 games under his belt. People didn't know what was coming, and it's hard to game plan for somebody that does something really well. It's really hard to game plan against someone that does a couple things really well. in 2019, it wasn't the roster; it was solely Lamar Jackson, and I firmly believe that.
Right, and this year it is it's the roster. Like we're good top to bottom. I mean, we're talking about Rocky Sin is a professional corner. Like he's good. I don't know if he's an All Pro or a Pro Bowl caliber guy, but he's a good corner. He's been a good corner for 4 or 5 years. Ronald Darby has been a good corner, when he's healthy for I don't know, probably 6 or 7 years at this point. Like Marlon is an All Pro caliber corner. There's really no position other than edge rusher that we don't have some kind of established, legitimate player there. I mean, again, look at safety. You have Marcus Williams, who's an established ball hawk, who's going to, create havoc and cause turnovers. And you have Kyle Hamilton, who looked very good last year. I don't know if you want to call him established yet. Michael Pierce is an established, disruptor up the middle. You have Jadeveon Clowney on the defensive line. Yeah, but again, when Michael Pierce has been healthy, he has been a cheaper Brandon Williams. I know you hated Brandon Williams, but
he's a 2-gap plugger. And that's what Brandon Williams. That's why he's called an overpaid paperweight. He didn't do anything special, but he plugged 2 gaps every snap he took, which you can run a 3-man front and be successful with that.
Oh, by the way,
stack and be okay with that because you have a guy that takes 2 gaps away.
Speaking of undrafted free agents, though, Pierce is another undrafted free agent. He's not an ADC undrafted free agent, but he is an undrafted free agent.
2016.
We got a lot of them on this team, and they contribute.
He's 5'7", 430 pounds, and just fucking
Hottie was my guy, man.
He's awesome.
Did you see him on that clip on Hard Knocks, or he was talking shit to Aaron Rodgers?
Oh yeah,
he said, "I don't know who you are," and Hottie goes, "I don't know who you are," and Aaron Rodgers said, "Bullshit."
Thanks for bringing up the Jets, because I have some house cleaning items for you here.
Oh god,
please, Sauce Gardner, Jalen Hyatt beat him on a go ball, but
I mean, everybody beat him. Everybody was beating him like a fucking drum in camp. It was bad. It was bad, yeah.
Okay, so. What about guys who play well in camp? Are you saying that James Prochet is good?
Is James Prochet better than Sauce Gardner? Maybe.
You're drunk.
You've kind of backed me into a corner here.
That fucking hill. I understand. I respect the commitment. That's that's marriage quality.
But I actually have a different player that Grant is in love with that I would like to bring up some camp and game scenarios where just blatant offensive pass interferences every time he catches the fucking ball. Every goddamn
time.
And
it's okay.
Every highlight of him, his arm is extended, pushing the fucking corner away from him.
Every single one.
Do they call it?
No, because it's preseason in camp. It's preseason in camp. Are they going to call in the regular season?
Did he push off on that ball against the Falcons? Did he push off?
I don't even know what you're talking about.
I don't know which one you're talking about because literally
went viral. Where everybody was like, "Oh, this is preseason. George Pickens is going insane," and he made that behind the back shoulder catch down.
That was a push off. That was. It wasn't blatant. Of course not. They're not going to do that. It's the NFL. The NFL doesn't want to see offensive PI become a thing. Right now, it's funny though. They're treating him like Michael Irvin back in the 90s.
The thing is you have to understand how the position is called down the field. You can hand fight. You can't push.
That's not hand fighting. That's not hand fighting what he does. It's not hand fighting what he does.
Grant, if you read what offensive pass interference is it says if you have a fully extended arm to create space with the corner, that's an offensive pass interference. Every single catch George Pickens makes at some point in the route, his arm is fully extended, pushing the corner off.
All right, I guarantee. I can guarantee you this.
Snap in the NFL, there could be a holding call.
I will make a guarantee right now.
Push off Pickens.
I will make a guarantee that George Pickens, it may not be this year, at some point in his career, he's going to get called for offensive pass interference on one of his, circus catches that he created for himself by breaking the rules. He's going to get called for it, and he's going to assault the ref. Maybe not beat his ass, but he's going to cross the line, get thrown out, get suspended, get fined, and it's going to be the beginning of the end of his career. I will make that guarantee on this podcast. That is going to be what ruins his career. He's going to lose his temper when he gets called for offensive pass interference because he does it all the fucking time.
Since we're doing hot takes here, I have a really hot take.
And he's a boss.
Sun's going to come up tomorrow.
We can hate it as much as you can hate it as much as you want, but he is good at football.
He's good at committing offensive pass interferences and not getting called for it. Sure, in training camp and preseason games. Sure, I'll agree with that. As long as you admit that they're all push-offs.
You better hope Ajabo has a fucking career this
You
year.
know how many times I've gotten that fucking message from and tweet from God knows who, some faceless fuckwad account of, you better hope David Jones could suck my dick. First
It
of all,
wasn't me, I swear.
Grant is
Yeah.
like, Ted Bundy was really good at killing people. Yeah, sure
I
was.
almost- yeah.
He had great knife posture.
I mean, like, just David Ajabo, and that's we talked about this last week with our fans freaking out about Ajabo, like in preseason games.
He's gonna be
They're-
fine. He's a beast.
Yeah. Oh, he's a beast now. So we should have taken him over Pickens. You've
I
backed off.
never said he wasn't good. I just said that I would prefer Pickens over him, and I still do.
Grant, I'm pretty sure on this podcast you said something to the effect of "fuck David Ajabo." I wanted George Pickens. Like George Pickens is so much better than David Ajabo.
I said he's better for what we needed. I still would take him over Ajabo in the second round, 1,000%.
Would you take George Pickens over Zay Flowers? Because if we drafted George Pickens, we
No.
definitely wouldn't have taken Zay Flowers.
No, I wouldn't. So I mean,
Because Zay Flowers doesn't have to push off the wide receivers to create space. He just shakes them. He's that talented. He's good at running routes. He doesn't just run straight and push the guy out of his way. He, plays football the correct way. Just different.
well, they
different
also
brands of
played.
football.
If you want to get technical, they also played two different positions where one of them has to be more physical and the other one has to be untouchable.
Zay can play both.
Zay's just good. Zay's good at football.
Zay is
George
the
Pickens
truth.
just-
Zay is the
Yeah.
truth.
I
George
bet.
Pickens-
I would be willing to bet if they squared up, Zay would beat George Pickens' ass.
Now you're drunk.
No, I think he
I'm
would.
I love
I'm
Zay
willing-
Flowers, but George Pickens.
I'm willing to bet that most NFL players can kick the fuck out of George Pickens because they're not mentally handicapped, and that's who George Pickens fights. So
Oh, here you go with the radio story again. We
it's
looked
written
it up,
down on
and the guy even spoke with reporters and was like, "I'm not special." Like,
He had a gun to his head.
in the face, but I'm not special.
Grant, if a bunch of people on the internet were calling you special and you were embarrassed about it, are you going to say, "Oh yeah"?
I'd be
I'm
like,
special
"Hell yeah, I
needs,
am."
George
I'd be
Pickens
like,
beat
"Yes,
my
I
ass."
am. Yes, you got me. I am."
How have we made it through this conversation without Drew saying
It's
a
I
so
know.
hard.
I'm waiting
It's
for
so
it. I
hard.
was
It
trying
is
to
so
set him
hard.
up. That's why I was saying
It's
special.
so hard.
I was trying to set him up.
I'm
Imagine
trying
imagine that conversation. Like reporters are waiting outside of a high school for this kid, and they're like, "Hey, buddy, are you mentally handicapped?" And he's like, "No."
Did you read his defense? He goes, "I'm not mentally handicapped. I have a 3.1 GPA. That's like a B average. You're not smart."
At
Fuck off.
a high school in
So
Georgia,
I graduated with a 2.4, so you can go fuck
Well,
yourself.
at a
Did
high
you
school
try?
in Georgia.
No, I didn't.
Let's check the fucking rankings of
I
school
literally-
systems in
I went
America.
I went to school to play sports. I maintained, I never did homework. I was an idiot. If
I
I
would-
could go back, I'm like, you're a fucking idiot, Grant.
I am willing to bet right now that the Georgia public high school system, public education system, is like a bottom third of the country system. I'm willing to.
I'd go bottom 5.
Yeah, it's going to be they're going to be with Alabama, Mississippi. It's going to be bad.
if you were a top, he was the top. He might have been the number one player in the country coming out of high school. If you're the number one player in the country coming out of high school, do you give a fuck about your GPA? Let's be honest.
But we're talking about the kid.
We're talking about the special kid.
The special kid that he kicked the shit out of.
I'm
We're not
saying
talking about George
his
I thought you were talking
3.1
about Pickens.
his 3.1 GPA in Georgia public education system is not proving or disproving
This kid's-
any
So
Yeah,
claim.
theoretically, he would
this kid's-
he would be a 2.4 like me if he was in Virginia. So you call me special?
No, Virginia has a good school system. It's a
I don't know
so-
about that.
It's a well-funded school system.
I mean, we've seen that Virginia fuck that's gone viral. That
Don't
ginger
go-
bearded piece of shit.
This might be just don't go to certain schools.
In that dude's defense,
They
he has
have
a very nice singing voice. He
certain
does.
schools in
What-
Virginia.
oh,
have
God,
boxes
stop.
and
He has
stuff.
a nice singing voice.
Stop. He does not.
No, not stop.
Jake,
He does.
Jake, I could go stand in
He
my
does.
backyard and yell into my mic about how I'm upset about things, and I would be just as far. If somebody wants to write me a politically charged country song, I could go be the next version of that guy.
Drew,
not
you know what you should
You
do? We should
First
make
off,
video.
You'd be off key.
We have to make
You would be
video.
off
Make a,
key and sound tone deaf if you did that, Drew.
We
So
should-
does that guy. That
we-
guy is off.
we
key
got to
and
make
tone deaf.
videos of Drew
Horrible.
singing
I
his
hit his
tweets.
notes.
Drew's got to sing his tweets.
Oh
Yeah.
shit! There you go. Hey, I'll play.
I get
I'll
canceled
play
for this.
acoustic in the background just for you too, just to do all that. I got you.
Yeah, just
I have
send me a
an acoustic.
guitar and I'll just do some fake hand movements, and then you can put the real music behind it.
There you go.
Actually, we
I'll
know
find
somebody
a-
who's good at shooting homemade singing videos, so maybe we'll ask for some of his input too.
I'll see if Walmart still sells those First Act guitars, and then I'll send you one so you can go Jeff Jarrett over someone's head with it.
All right, that works. But regardless,
Yeah.
George Pickens beats up mentally handicapped kids. Grant supports him. It's disgusting. Sauce Gardner's fucking burnt toast. Not good.
Wrong.
Wrong.
Right.
Wrong.
Right.
Yeah, that's wrong. I do respect the commitment, though. Gotta respect the commitment.
Yeah, I'm committed to speaking facts. I don't know. Somebody has to do it here. Everybody else is
committed. You were committed to a terrible agenda, and you were dying on an anthill. And
yep,
you just
for this one, yes.
Like I get it, man. I get it. Pride is a hell of a drug, but pride is a hell of a drug.
It's not even pride.
Sauce Gardner is fucking good at football.
The thing is that it's not pride. It's literally just I cannot admit you're right. I physically do not have it in me to admit that you're right. It's not pride. It has nothing to do with if I'm right or wrong. It's just I cannot admit you were right.
But Will was too. I mean, Will was on that train, so.
Yeah, but Will took your side of the argument. It was originally me versus you, and then in the rare occasion that Will went to the other side of things.
Because Will has football eyes. He watched the tape. He watched the games. He saw the numbers. He realized, man, this guy.
Just for the record, I would like to say that Chibs, who is a noted cornerback analysis expert, he's done great work on well-known websites with Microsoft Paint logos about draft stuff. Like said, Sauce Gardner was going to be bad too, so it wasn't just me.
But then he was a first-team All-Pro and won Defensive Rookie of the Year.
Yeah, you can't do anything.
I mean, we can go back and look and see.
Has a rookie ever
go back and look at what that happened?
Yeah. Okay. Mistakes happen. Shit happens. It's life. New York media bias. I don't know. What the fuck you want me to say here?
I just want you to keep throwing shit against the wall.
Stop lying. That's what we want you to do.
How am I fucking? I think the guy sucks. That's my opinion. It's not a.
You definitely don't think he sucks. That's not true.
You're right. I don't think he sucks. I know he sucks. You're right. Thank you for correcting me.
Drew goes to sleep at night and has a picture of Sauce Gardner next to his bed. He's like, "I'm sorry, I didn't mean to say those mean things about you tonight, but I would
tweet that. I would tweet them to him, but he'd probably DM me like Jacqueline and fucking go ballistic in my DMs. He's a little softy too. Gets all bent out of shape.
He would probably bring you a chain that said "Ban Drew."
He sends me a chain that says "Ban Drew," and maybe I'll, depending on how many carrots it is, maybe I'll forgive him for not being good at football. But gave him a touchdown last year. I was guaranteed on this podcast multiple times that wouldn't happen. So I don't know. Just saying, just not.
No one guaranteed he wouldn't give up a touchdown in the
NFL. I promise you, we can go dig up sound of Grant saying that he'll never give up a touchdown.
No, I said
he no way he ever said that. There's no way he ever said that.
Grant said he is yet to do so.
Grant committed to that harder than he committed to Jerry Jones being a good GM.
You're drunk. Grant.
No, you were probably drunk. You were probably drunk when you said it, which is fine, understandable. Like we've all made regrettable decisions when we drank.
I never said that he would not.
You said I could tell you exactly how this conversation went down. You told me that you were going to make a quilt for all the touchdowns that he gave up, but that you wouldn't have anything to cover yourself because
that does sound like something you would say, Grant.
Yeah, it happened.
That's fair.
I'll go back and
He's smiling. He knows it. He's like, damn it. I say that all the time.
I said that he has never given up a touchdown.
You said he would give up none this year.
Whatever. That's some weird ass saying that you have that you like say to your football kids that you coach. You know that.
I'm gonna make a quilt with pictures or some dumb shit like that. I'm just telling you that you promised me he wasn't giving up a touchdown last year.
After the 44-0 win in week 1, you've probably said, I'm gonna make a quilt for the other team for all the points they scored today, and they're gonna be cold tonight.
He didn't give up.
I would take your Pee Wee corners over Ahmad Gardner right now in the NFL.
Yeah.
Drew would take Caillou Blue Kelly over Sauce Gardner.
I would.
That he would.
Although he's a video gaming. The more I looked into him, it was the making of video games. It's a red flag. I don't know if we should have drafted him.
Well, because he's
milk dud.
Nerds.
But that's what reminded me too, because Will was firing off when somebody saying that like we couldn't develop corners. Like that's stupid. Like it wasn't that. It was a roster thing. But I think the Seahawks got him because they know what his potential is, and they are good at developing corners.
They have a spot for him.
They got the best rookie corner last year. I agree. Right. Yeah, they got the best rookie corner last year. So.
Okay, here we go.
You fucking go. And
but the to claim
I'm gonna make you a quilt, Drew.
The people who claim the Ravens can't develop. If their evidence of the Ravens can't develop a cornerback is that we cut Caillou Blue Kelly. after one summer. So basically, he went to rookie OTAs, he went to OTAs, and he did training camp, and he got cut because of roster restrictions that we had because of an injury.
Well, they wanted him back too.
But nobody develops a fucking 5th-round player unless it was like a guy who slipped through the cracks or something and should have been drafted way higher. But if it's a true 5th-round talent, you don't develop that guy into an NFL caliber contributor in one summer. It just doesn't happen before he's even been on the sideline for a fucking real game. It's just not how it happens.
Well, and the shit with that too that's funny is like people talk about the receivers. You know, people used to talk about how the Ravens couldn't develop receivers. It wasn't that they couldn't develop receivers. It was that they weren't good at evaluating receivers and the type of offense, and Greg Roman held a lot of talent back. But the same people that would bitch about saying that the Ravens couldn't develop receivers would praise Williams. It's like, well, who do you think's developing the fucking receivers?
Right.
So also the receivers had the same problem as somebody like Caillou Kelly or Jalen Armour-Davis had, is that when you draft a Miles Boykin in the 3rd round, he shouldn't come out and be your wide receiver 2. He's a guy that should be your wide receiver 5, to start the year and maybe work his way up to wide receiver 2 by the end of the year. But week 1, he was right there as your wide receiver 2. So you are putting guys who you have evaluated as high ceiling players with whether it's physical traits or something that shows up to you on film. I don't know what they look at that they see that they're like, this is a guy that I want to take and develop. But then rather than developing him, they just fucking throw him right in the fire and then he doesn't do well. Like, no shit.
Yeah.
It's the same thing that would have happened with Caillou Kelly this year, is that if you threw him out there to be, play legitimate snaps at corner, like, he wasn't going to succeed. He wasn't ready.
No, so McDonald's defense is not an easy defense, especially for corners. And you have to be you have to have a certain type of skill set for him. Like I said, they saw something in Caillou Kelly. The intangibles are there, the skill set's there, all that stuff. But he did get out of place a lot, but it's a field spacing thing with what they're trying to do defensively with their corners. He got out of like alignment a lot and out of position. So that's not a knock on him necessarily saying, oh, he sucks. It's just the adjustment to the game that they're asking him to play. And right now we can't afford to have somebody on the roster that, with Marlon Humphrey in question, that we have to work on. He made the play of the game defensively against
I was just gonna say
Commanders
that
when he blew up that fucking was it
2-point conversion
goal?
Well, and that's one of those. Okay, that's kind of like, we were just criticizing George Pickens, but it's like George Pickens, I think, sometimes puts himself in bad positions because he's too busy trying to be physical with the cornerback.
He does.
So he gets off his route, but then his athleticism, he's able to overcorrect for it and make these spectacular plays. So I think Caillou Kelly got a little lost, but his athleticism got him back into play, made a fucking huge play, and I bet that play made the choice to cut him a little bit harder for the coaching staff. So saying, okay, this guy doesn't have a full grasp of the defense, but he has the athleticism to overcome it. But
that's why they drafted him.
Yeah, right. So I'm sure that's why I think, and we all agree, that their hope was that they could get him on the practice squad, because I think the guy is going to turn into a serviceable NFL player. He needs time. He needs a full season and off season, to acclimate and really find where he fits in. And it's that we don't have the luxury of that with this team. This is a team that the goal is to win the Super Bowl. It's a roster built to win the Super Bowl. And right now, the only real concern we have is that we have to, overcome not having our best cornerback and potentially our best defensive player.
I would say Caillou Kelly and Saleh are kind of the same guy of that.
Yeah, Saleh looked lost too, but we need
Saleh looked lost, but again, he's 6'5", 330 or 340 and moves the way that he does. And it's same thing with Falele last year, is that they saw that as a guy of that's physical talent that you can't teach somebody. And we have starter caliber guys in front of him. So we can take him, put him on the roster, let him learn. And then maybe in 2 years, he can take a starting job. And I'm sure that was the idea for Caillou Kelly, is that you brought him in this year. Whatever it is, your cornerback 6 to start the year or whatever it is, and just see what happens. And, let him learn from actual good corners.
Well, the difference between the two is that if somebody goes down, Salah doesn't have to be thrown in the fire. He still can be a developmental guy on the roster and learn for like certain situations because there are swing guys.
Yeah.
But then
Yeah,
if
you're not going to
somebody
see
else goes
Salah
down
until
outside of Marlon, Kyle Bukele would have to come in and be a dude.
Right.
yeah.
Well, and
he's
another,
not a dude.
another big difference is the Ravens have, and they should, and everyone should have a lot of faith in their ability to develop offensive linemen because they just, I mean, they churn them out. So like almost every guy that we draft and keep for more than a year or two turns into a guy who either stays here, we extend them, or goes somewhere else, gets paid. They're contributing, they're starting NFL offensive linemen. So like even like Falele this year looks a hell of a lot better than he did last year. So the development from year 1 to 2 is huge. That I'm sure that's the plan also for Salah.
And I assume next year Falele is our starting right tackle. Like that's the goal. You're
Yep.
saying you're going to let Morgan Moses walk from that, put Falele in there.
Running backs, tight ends, interior offensive linemen, defensive tackles, noses, 1s and 3 techniques, and safeties. Ravens are unbelievable at.
Right.
What about? I mean, late round up outside linebackers usually do pretty well too. Is Darius Smith, Pernell McPhee, Matthew Judon. I mean, there's been a lot of guys that have come in here as later round picks.
Undrafted guys like Hottie.
Yeah, I mean, there are just seem to always be guys that work out at those positions for us. So I don't know. I feel like, you know, again, maybe Kyle Bukele was a miss, but so fucking what? We've hit everywhere else. Who the fuck cares?
I really don't think they expected somebody to scoop him. To be
No,
honest,
I don't think so either. And I think if they did, people keep mentioning with, oh, it's just like Sean Wade. We traded Sean Wade in the preseason. So like I think we drafted him in the 3rd round. We got a 4th round pick back, or it was a 4th to the 5th or whatever. So like we traded a guy. We got back.
Basically, the pick we used on.
I think it might have been a 4th.
He was a 5th, I think. He was like.
No, I think we got a 4th for him.
Yeah, but it was, you know, like 2 years down the road or whatever.
It does. We had all those like we had like 6 4th round picks last year.
It was 2. I think we took him in 2020.
We took him in 2021.
No,
Sean Wade.
We traded. Yeah. I'm saying we traded him for a 4th that we had last year.
Oh
I just hate when people when people use they try and like they think they have this like gotcha thing, and it's like what you're saying doesn't make sense. Like I was arguing with our friend Mo before we came on. He was saying, you know, how EDC sucks at drafting on day 3. And I was like, there's really not a whole big difference between day 3 picks and undrafted free agents. If you end up doing well with the undrafted free agents you pick, and you know, I pointed out 2 undrafted free agents made the roster this year, and he's like, oh, that's 2 out of 39 since EDC took over. I'm like, what are you talking about? We have 5 guys in the roster right now before those 2. We got Patrick McCary, we have Tyler Huntley, Anthony Brown, Ardarius Washington, and who's the 5th one? Maybe it was just those 4. No, so it's 2019, 20, 21, 22. And then so it's 6 total. But I'm like, if you can get 6 undrafted free agents from the last 5 years on your 2023 roster, you're doing something right in scouting that, like, you know, the scraps that are left over once all the like obvious talent.
And what is, like you said, what is the difference between a 5th round pick and a UDFA other than you've committed to paying a 5th round pick for 4 years,
right?
And a UDFA is a kind of a more year-to-year guy.
Well, Ardarius is a dude. Ardarius is
he is exactly.
Yeah, but he's Gamer God's new agenda. So you know, I like Ardarius Washington, but I think he's kind of fucked now.
Well, and the funny thing is, Mo was like, well, you know, the day 3 picks are better because you get them for 4 years. I was like, if that makes no sense, then you get locked in, like with James Prochet. You have James Prochet on your roster for fucking 4 years, or
you also get UDFA.
You end up eating money on it. Well, you can.
Yeah, I mean, it's you get the exclusive rights for. So I think the first year is basically like you just can renew them for nothing,
right?
And then I think it's exclusive rights in year 3, and then I think it's a restricted free agency year 4,
right? So
original tender, whatever the fuck you call that,
right? So the difference is that you're locked into the money on a draft pick. Where and it's not a huge dead cap hit, but it's still a dead cap hit to cut James Prochet this year. We do eat money on that, so that eats into our available cap. Whereas with an undrafted free agent, you take them, you can probably end up sliding them through to your practice squad if they're not contributing well enough to be on the 53. But if you can get 2 of those guys on the 53, Keaton Mitchell, by all accounts, is going to be a contributor on the team in more than one way, I'm sure. And Ham, having more pass rushers is always a good thing. I think he'll probably end up cutting on the practice squad once Bowser's back. But for now, it's just like, all right, we have more guys available, so that's good. But it's just like, what? I don't understand the logic of saying it's more valuable to the team to hit on a round 5 pick as opposed to being able to identify talent in the undrafted pool. I think the undrafted pool is like where really good GMs make their money. Because and I'm not saying that I wouldn't like him to hit on day 3 picks. That'd be great. I'm just saying if you cut one day 3 pick and you added 2 undrafted free agents, you're net positive on that when you're talking about your draft.
So here's my situation. What do you do if, let's say, Malik Ham, he gets situational snaps? Let's say that he has a great first quarter of the season. Bowser comes back. Let's say Owe struggles. What do?
You tell Malik Harrison to fuck off and go somewhere else. That's what you do.
Why? I mean, he's been a guy.
Why not?
He's performed better than Owe.
Yeah, but Owe is a first-round pick that you're kind of tied to it.
You're not, though.
Well, yeah.
What are you going to cut? You going to cut Owe?
Why? I trade him.
Well, there's just no trade value. You don't trade him when their value is at its lowest.
I mean, it's not going to be at its highest, but you can't trade a guy that's going to potentially make more of an impact.
You took Odafe Owe to be a developmental pass rusher, and so you see that through. That was the idea of drafting him, is that maybe he's not going to be good year 1 or year 2, but maybe by year 3 and year 4 he really starts.
But I'm saying if he struggles this year, like if he starts to struggle the first quarter of the season, and Malik Ham has a good quarter of the season, and Bowser comes back, and you can't. I mean, if Harrison's playing the way he did in preseason, then you can't.
Or you tell Delshon Phillips to fuck off. I don't know. I mean, again, I don't think that you push Owe back to more of a situational role and see if he can earn more snaps, and you let Malik Ham take the starting job. I don't think that if Malik Ham starts off hot, you don't put him on waivers and try to sneak him onto your practice squad. That's dumb. That's not going to work.
He's not going to make it. But I also don't think you hold on to a guy just because of where you drafted him a couple of years.
Or you go tell, Kevon Seymour, or one of these, bums that's not going to matter at the end of the cornerback depth chart, to, fuck off and go somewhere else. I think Malik Ham is here to stay unless he goes on, unless he gets hurt or something like that. I don't think that you're going to get rid of him for any particular reason.
I mean, he was setting the edge. And then you got Clowney too.
Yeah.
And I think Clowney's just, like we said before, in our chats and stuff, but I don't think people, and I don't think like average Ravens fans understand the impact that he's going to have in the run game. Like
I said this last week, that I don't know if you're going to see Clowney's impact in, stat sheet tracked items, but that he's going to just cause havoc everywhere.
Yeah.
And that
he'll play a 3. They'll kick him inside to a 3 tech and just tell him to fucking go.
Right. So you can play him outside for, first and second down. You can kick him inside for third down and have Owe or Jabo come off the bench and just, be pure pass rushers at that point.
Well, I think another reason, by the way, that Clowney was a target for them is I think that they would like Owe to develop into a Clowney type player, because they were kicking him inside a lot during the preseason and camp sessions and everything else. So I think Clowney could be sort of a mentor for Owe to do something different than he has been. And they brought in Dr. Rush, so I think they're going to help Owe, and then let Ojabo be that complete savage pass rusher that he's built to be.
Ojabo made Aiden Hutchinson, so we'll wait for him to make Odafe Owe.
I got to see Ojabo actually do something before I say that, because Aiden Hutchinson's a dude.
I've seen him do
Aiden
something.
Hutchinson.
Is a strip sack against Joe Burrow not something in a regular season game? That's not something.
I mean, it happened, so it was something.
Well, there you go. I saw it. Did you?
Did it happen?
My eyes were foggy. I couldn't.
You must be drunk. There you go.
Anywho, that's going to do it for this week's installment. We'll be back next week to discuss this, that, and the other, and especially the fact that the regular season is here, and we'll be discussing the game next week. But meanwhile...
And we might have a guest. We might have a good guest.
But meanwhile, before we have that guest, it's time for me to die.
No,
See ya!
that was bad.
Didn't
No,
work.
It was
Not
okay.
bad.
It wasn't that bad.
It was okay.
Hey, if it works, it works. That's the key.
Well, Grant doesn't
Oh, yeah,
know
no,
what any
definitely.
of it sounds like because he doesn't listen to the podcast unless he's on it.
That's
There
not
you go.
true.
Zone 32.